We live, Nicholas?
Yeah, we're fucking live, dude.
So I'll tell you something funny thing I just noticed, right? So in the interview that we just recorded,
Mm.
my shirt was not see-through on the green screen. It is
Huh.
very much got pockets of see-throughness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Huh.
I'm feeling a little exposed, Nicholas. A little exposed.
So-
But that's what the ladies and gentlemen come here for, Nicholas. They
oh,
come
yeah,
here
most definitely.
for the doc in all of his glory. You may think that because I have a beard that I'm hairy all over. Completely shaved. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all ages, TLDR Studios probably presents to you the greatest, and I mean the greatest and maybe the most iconic
Oh,
podcasting team in the world. He is your friendly neighborhood comic book writer, Nick Friar. I am Tenacious Doc, baby, and together we are the TLDR Comic Book Club. Nicholas, how's it going, my friend?
I am like half a mind to continue with the other guy's quotes, like you and I did off air. Last time, we just kept
Arnie
fucking
Palmy
going.
alert! Arnie Palmy alert!
Christina, you come into my house and you get my wife's name right. Oh God, that guy. That's just that guy alone. He's just absolutely freaking ridiculous. And also, was it Stranger Things? Right? That's what we.
Oh, yeah, he's Murray, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I always got a little LRB kicking in the old.
God, what a
See, it
friggin'
says FBI, but the joke is female body inspectors.
God, what a weird dude he is.
Oh,
Oh man, but
fantastic!
that's just the tip of the iceberg. But yes, Joe did mention that we just recorded an interview, so we have it in Hopper, which means we can tell you guys a little bit about it because we're not going to be fucking jinxing ourselves about having this interview. So recently we had Scott Snyder back on the program to talk Absolute Batman. Wanted to talk Absolute Bane ahead of that character's introduction into DC's Absolute Universe. And of course, you guys know by now, Joe and I kind of like to dovetail one interview into another. We kind of do like our own like mini series here and there as best as we
It's called a
can.
segue, Nicholas. Right?
Exactly. Well, it worked out this way where we ended up having the editors and some of the writers from The Cloakroom. Scott Snyder presents The Cloakroom Volume 4. We just had them on the show. As you guys are listening to this, it's going to be dropping on Thursday, so the day after New Comic Book Day. If you haven't already, go back that campaign. There's only a few days left on that campaign for Volume 4. I was featured in the first volume, which is why Joe always calls me comic book writer. That is where I got my first work published. Make sure if you haven't checked out my stuff, you can go and get all three first volumes and the fourth volume in this Kickstarter campaign. So just go check that out. Just on Google, honestly, you can type in The Cloakroom Kickstarter, and that should come right up issues 1 through 4. If you just want to read volume 4 and say, fuck you, Nick, that's fine. I won't take it personally. Doc says it all the time, off air too. So by all means, like, you check that out. Joe and I had a blast talking with the writers and the editors, Jerry and Veronica. We get like the three stories that we discussed, like just such an interesting range. Joe, we got a superhero, a huge twist on the superhero origin story. We get this high fantasy story with this character was like a cozy fantasy, as it was described to us.
Cozy fantasy. I love that. I'm all in on that genre now, by the way.
I know you are, and it's fucking awesome. And then the other one that it was an experience. Like the art style was so it was if we've talked about Step by Bloody Step on the show before. We had Cy Spurrier on the show. I talked about it in the past with Ain't No Grave. The I think it was issue 4, if not issue 3 of that series was completely silent. And this is not silent, but it gets really close to that. And we just had a fascinating conversation about that issue and the others as well.
I'll tell you what, do as I did, okay, folks, and head over to Kickstarter. In the search bar, search Scott Snyder presents The Cloakroom. You'll see volume 4 up there, and there's less than a week away. Or if you're listening to us live, exactly a week away. But go back it. I backed it because I want to see which version ultimately that we will get of
The only way is through.
The only way is through, right? Because there's there's the there's the way that they're thinking about publishing, and then there's the way I read it. Because Sundown Doc made an appearance this week.
Oh man.
But I'm gonna tell you what, the way I'm glad I read it the way that I did, because it really it blew me away. It was something else, and so I'm very curious to see what they ultimately decide to go with, because they humbly asked me for my opinion, Nicholas.
Mm, he did.
I gave it. I gave it with the writer right there, by the way, too. Like, no
Yeah,
pressure or
dude.
anything.
No, dude, I wasn't letting you
Um,
off the hook on that one either. I was like, you gotta fucking say it.
well, you know what, Nicholas, and all joking aside, I'm being very serious here. I really take pride in that. We mean what we say on this program.
Yeah.
And we're not here to sugarcoat things. We're not here to slam anything necessarily.
Hmm.
Now, that's not to say I haven't said things stink from time to time.
Hmm.
But generally, we don't want to be a negative podcast. We only want to focus on things but we're always going to be honest, no matter what. And
Hmm.
so I felt, I gave my honest opinion. I liked this version of how I read it, but I loved both. Right?
Yeah, both were great, but I also like, even though I didn't experience it like you did, I once you said it, I was like, oh, that'd be really interesting.
Go back into it. It's a small
Yeah.
file when you open
Yeah,
up the
that's right. We
Dropbox.
have that. I have access to that too. Yeah, I'm gonna check that. It really, and you, like you said, you ended up. I read that story twice, maybe a third time, but like you read it like 3, 4 times because of the original 4 times. So yeah, it's fascinating experience. So so this is volume 4, and I'm not just saying this because I was featured in this series, but volume 2, volume 3, there are awesome short story comics in this anthology series. Like when I read the first one, obviously really enjoyed it and being a part of it and everything. Like there were certain stories I was really excited to check out, and I had a great time reading them. Then I get the second volume, and it was like, dude. And you've had access to that second volume too, Joe. And it's just, and then there's a third, but like the second one, like I was like, fuck, man, there are some really, really good stories in this thing. So if you guys haven't read the other issues of the Cloakroom, and you're a fan of the show, and whether you have more of a a doc taste or more of a me taste, like whichever one, they both, this is that Venn diagram where the stuff that we both like we have a lot of overlap, Joe, but there are times where we differ. Like I have certain things that I like a little bit more. You have certain things you like a little bit more. No.
Doc tastes bacon. Friar tastes kombucha.
I
Fucking
mean,
hippie.
sure, whatever. Yeah, maybe that's why I don't have a kombucha glass in my hand right now, and I have a. This is actually, you want to talk about some throwback stupid shit. This is great podcasting. This is a Wolverine cup from 7-Eleven from Wolverine
Oh, hell
Origins.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah, dude,
dude, I've got a fucking Hobbit Battle of the Five Armies cup from the theater
hell
still,
yeah,
right?
hell yeah.
I'll tell you what. So, like, there's a whole to do, right, with the popcorn buckets. These
Oh
days,
yeah,
everyone
yeah.
trying to outdo each other. I'll tell you what, the best thing I've gotten from the theater lately, I even though I didn't see it, but I was like, I got to get the fucking cup. It's a Captain America Brave New World, whatever. But the cup, it's diesel, and
Ooh,
it's like rubberized. And hold on, once.
you're gonna have to send me a picture of this at some point. I need to see what that looks like.
Yeah, sorry, just had to go mute real quick. But it is diesel. It is awesome. That thing can, like, you could drink out of that thing. Let me tell you, it is
Oh,
tremendous.
I need to see a picture of this. You gotta send this to me after the show. That
Will
sounds
do.
awesome. All right, enough about drinking devices. We got some comics to discuss, but again, that Friarside Chat is going to be coming to you on Thursday. Don't wait to listen. Go on Kickstarter. Back the campaign. If you haven't read all 4 volumes, I highly recommend you doing that. And if you've been on top of it, or if you're just like Nick, I can't go and do 4 right now, or all 4, then just back volume 4. It's there's some awesome stuff in here. Can't wait for you guys to check it out. We had and the chat was a whole lot of fun too. We had both editors and 3 of the 5 writers from this volume on the show. Just had a great time overall. But enough about that, Joe. We got a lot to get to. You have actually a little bit of catching up to do. What do you got for me?
So there's 3 titles in particular that have sort of fallen by the wayside for me.
Mhm.
One of them's been Daredevil. The other one's been Wolverine, like the current mainline Wolverine, and X-Men. And Daredevil and Wolverine, I've only sort of recently kind of fallen off. But X-Men, I realized I was like, I think it was like 4 or 5 issues.
Mm.
So I went back. I read those today, Nicholas. I'm back in. Um, I'm back in on X-Men. This current arc that's sort of going on there, with the quote unquote new X-Men. And it's been and Cassandra Nova, right? It's been pretty intriguing, pretty fun stuff. So I felt like X-Men sort of like plateaued a little bit for me, and that's sort of why I kind of fell off. But Stagman's been back on the regular art these last several issues, and the storytelling has kicked it up a bit of a notch for me. So back in on X-Men, baby.
Hell yeah. And speaking of, so that's written, of course, by Jed McKay. And we actually got a, little question in the chat, Joe, as we start
Oh,
moving towards what's new. We got Mehmet Toker asking what we think about Moon Knight, Fists of Khonshu, issue 9. I will get to that in a second. But, Joe, why don't you take us through what's out from Marvel this week?
all right. So for new comic book day, June 17th, 2025, Nicholas, from Marvel, we have the Ultimates issue 13. Speaking of X-Men, X-Men issue 18. Have read it. Wonderful. The Amazing Spider-Man issue 6. The Avengers issue 27. Wolverine issue 10. Aliens vs. Avengers issue 4. Iron Man issue 9. Psylocke issue 8. West Coast Avengers issue 8. Weapon X-Men issue 5. Fantastic Four Fanfare issue 2. Spider-Verse vs. Venomverse issue 2, of course, written by friend of the show, Kyle Higgins and Matt Groom. Doom's Division issue 4. Gwenpool issue 2. Powerman Timeless issue 4. Emma Frost, the White Queen issue 1. God damn it, Marvel. Godzilla vs. Avengers issue 1. Jeff and the Landshark issue 1. Bring on the Bad Guys Doom issue 1. And then speaking of Moon Knight, let's see, Moon Knight, Fist of Khonshu issue 9. Nicholas, did you read it?
Oh, hell yeah, I did. I mean, I've talked about a ton about how much I love McKay's run like just in general with the character. And obviously he was doing stuff well ahead of Fist of Khonshu. He had was it Vengeance of Moon Knight, and then obviously just the original Moon Knight. But yeah, I do want to circle back on what Mehmet was asking about issue 9. And just as a little thing for our listeners, if you guys ever have books like that are coming out week to week that you specifically want us to talk about, especially if it's ones you know that we've been reading, just shoot us a note, shoot us a DM, in the chat by all means. But yes, 100%. Anywhere, by all means, the sooner you let us know, the easier it is for us to prepare. Because I'll be honest, if Mehmet hadn't asked me about this book, I might have not talked about it. Because there is a level sometimes where Joe and I like have certain books that we really like talking about, but we also want to diversify on the show because we don't want to be broken records. But that said, if a listener is asking us to fucking talk about a book, we're gonna do it if we like it. So, needless to say, I loved Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu issue 9. And one of the things that I love about Moon Knight in general is just anytime anybody's writing the character, not just Jed McKay. I think that Jeff Lemire, above all else, which is the Moon Knight series that I've talked about on the show at length, where he talks about the mental struggles that this character goes through. That is such a trippy series. And we've seen quite, when you're writing that character, you need to have that. That needs to be a thing you're talking about at all times with Mark Spector. And we get a lot of that in this issue. The most that I don't know, I hesitate to say the most that we've gotten in McKay's run, but I wouldn't say that's too far off. And it gets really, really friggin' intense. And I can't help but think, if McKay was like, oh, we're just going to end it here, we're not going to talk about what happened in this issue again, like if it's going to be just a small part going forward, or if there's going to be some serious ramifications and lingering issues from what goes on with Mark Spector in this issue, in the vein of what's going on with him mentally. It was fascinating. So if you really like that aspect of Moon Knight, you're going to love Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu issue 9.
All right. And then lastly, we have a number 1, Nicholas, that you would like to discuss. Tell the people what it is.
Yeah, Star Wars Dr. Aphra Chaos Agent issue 1. This is written by friend of the show, Cherish Chen, which we haven't talked to her in a long, long while, Joe. And honestly, I think this is the first thing I've seen from her in a little bit. So awesome to see her getting some Marvel work, working on Dr. Aphra. And this is kind of serendipitous for me because this is a character who, I finally went and read Kieran Gillen's run and on Darth Vader, which is where the character first, came to be. And I was like, okay, I need to check her out more because we'd seen her by name before you and I were like, who is this? I don't know if I'm going to check this out, whatever. But now it's like, okay, this is where I'll do it. There's more Dr. Aphra stuff to go back and check, and I absolutely will. But decided to do it here with Cherish Chen and art by Gabriel Guzman. This is like the new Star Wars outlaw story if you're looking for something in that kind of vein. And right now we're dealing with she has dealt with Darth Vader a lot in the past, obviously in the Vader run with Kieran Gillen. And right now this is actually set in the New Republic era. So it's like kind of in those the Mandalorian Ahsoka kind of times. And the issue that she's dealing with here puts her on a path with an ally that we all know very well. And from here, Afra is going to be facing a challenge that so far, like it's very it couldn't get more foreign for her based on her past history. So I'm excited to check out more of this and to stick with this series. Obviously, very excited to see Cherish Chen doing more work, and she just like the dialogue and everything. Like she did an outstanding job, very well paced, some awesome action, and really like there's a lot of lingering bits that I'm thinking about after reading that issue. And that was the last thing I read before you and I convened. Moving over to DC, Joe, we got Detective Comics 1098, Nightwing issue 127, Absolute Flash issue 4, Batman Superman World's Finest issue 40, Wonder Woman issue 22, Titans issue 24, Batman and Robin Year 1 issue 8, The New Gods issue 7, Zatanna issue 5, Catwoman 77, Superman Unlimited issue 2, DC Sonic the Hedgehog issue 4, Batman 89 Echoes issue 6, Crypto, The Last Dog of Krypton, issue 1. And while you and I aren't breaking down any books this week, I did want to note, and we didn't talk about this beforehand, but we got the news that there's going to be a new Red Hood series coming this fall. It's beginning in September. It's a 17-plus series. It is a mature series. We're getting Huntress in the mix early on. But more importantly for me, when I'm seeing, okay, this is going to be a mature title, taking a little bit of a page out of Marvel's book recently. We're doing all that Red Band stuff. But this is also a character, Joe, who very much warrants it. And you and I have talked about it a ton. Like, this is a character who needs to get their edge back. Like, that's been missing for a little bit. And I'm very excited to check this series out.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Red Hood has been a little bit I don't know if mismanaged is the right word, but there's been a change to the character, whether it was on purpose or just sort of happenstance by like one writer took it in this direction and then sort of other writers sort of started to follow suit a little bit. But I don't need my Red Hood to be Dick Grayson.
Bingo.
Right? I don't need
exactly what I was thinking.
I don't need my Red Hood to try to be Dick Grayson. I don't want him to be even a smidge of Dick Grayson. I want him to be that fucking asshole Jason Todd. I want him to live so far into the fucking gray that he can't even fucking see straight anymore, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we need, right? We need our Red Hood to, you know what? I'm gonna do what I need to do when needed, and I'm not gonna need to go to therapy after and talk about it. Right. Not there's anything wrong with that. I do it every goddamn week. It is very important. That's 100%. Not my Red Hood though.
Nope. 100%. No, I agree. Like I think you put it perfectly though, Joe. It's like, well, it's funny because a few years back we were like seeing DC kind of trying to turn Dick Grayson into Jason Todd, which again, I was open to a little bit at first, like adding an edge to the character, but then it's like, it didn't work out. And it's just like, again, you don't need Dick Grayson to be Jason Todd. That's the appeal of the character. And then you don't need Jason Todd to be Dick Grayson. Like, just let them like do what they do. Like they're both outstanding characters. And when written well, like they can be like the best comics that we see at DC. They both like under Tom Taylor, you praise him up and down about Nightwing, and like with Scott Lobdell, like the stuff that he did with Red Hood and James Tynion, like in the New 52. And then we saw more stuff going into the Rebirth and whatnot. And even back with Judd Winnick when he introduced Jason Todd as Red Hood, like fucking awesome shit, man. Like so much cool stuff, so much can be done with that character. So like just that's the biggest thing. Like let the character
make him your Punisher. Make him your Punisher. Go.
100%. And real quick before you start listing off stuff from the indies, make sure to thank us in the chat. Yeah, happy to do it, man. Just some intense stuff is going to go on in this Moon Knight issue, so make sure you're checking it out. And if you aren't reading Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu and you're a Moon Knight fan, You guys are sorely missing out. All right, let's move on to Boom. Doc, what do you got for me?
So from Boom Studios, you know the rule, folks. If there's a number one, you read it. But before we get to that, we have, let's see here, I Heart Skull Crusher issue 10, Mouse Guard, Dawn of the Black Axe issue 3, and then a book, Nicholas, that quite frankly I had forgotten about. A series that I've forgotten about that I absolutely loved. I want to look it up real quick. Let's see. To
Okay,
see
because
when the first issue or when the first series came out.
okay, because when I saw the Last Witch, Blood and Betrayal issue 1, when I saw like whenever we see the colon, there are times where that's just the title of the story, whatever. But I feel like a lot in comics, especially more recently. I mean, you and I have probably made a joke or two about it when we see that. It's a series that has been pre-existing.
Yeah, so let's see. The Last Witch first dropped. I read this back on January 6th. Oh, Jesus Christ. 2021. Get a fucking better anniversary date, please and thank you. Last Witch. Oh, that's throwing me. But yeah, 2021 is when I read this series, and I absolutely loved it. And you know, the way it ended, I couldn't wait. You know, I couldn't wait for the next arc. And, you know, here we are, like several years later, and we're finally getting it. And the thing I love most about The Last Witch, Blood and Betrayal, this is written by Connor McCreary with art by Vivi Glass, is that I didn't miss a beat. I didn't miss a beat. It's been, you know, Nick, I usually can't remember what happened 3 days ago, let alone 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
That's crazy.
Right. But the characters were so familiar to me. Like it was just, I was transported right back to when I first, you know, read the series. And they give you a great little sort of recap you know, in the beginning, and it's not too long, it's not excessively wordy, it is to the point and is refreshing enough so that if you read the first you know, arc of The Last Witch, you're instantly caught up. If you've never read The Last Witch, it's a great little summary so you can read this and not feel like what the hell is going on, right? So this really, like, they did a really good job of putting this together so that you know, anyone and everyone, you know, can read it. And you know, our main character Sorsha, she's changed a little bit from the first issue, or from the first arc I should say, because she went through a lot in that first. But again, it's explained, and you get a little bit of that character building throughout, you know, throughout this first issue here. And you know, it is just a beautiful fantasy story. The art is vibrant. The storytelling's fantasy, characters that you fall in love with, you know, immediately. And there are some great consequences that happen right in this first issue. So they're not pulling any punches. They're sort of jumping right in with both feet. And any fantasy fan is gonna love this series. And so it got me thinking that when we have a mainline coming up again,
I was
maybe
gonna
I do the
ask you.
first arc
Nice.
of The Last Witch,
Mhm.
because it's that good and it's that fun. And this is, you know, I think it's a boombox series, so that's more like, you know,
Mhm.
I wouldn't say all ages, and I don't want to say young adults. I don't want to, but it's just like, you know, I could, you know, it's great for everybody. It's the only way I could put it. Like it's
Sure.
if you love fantasy, right? It's a great fantasy story, and it's not mature in the sense that you wouldn't want to give it to your kids, but it's also not childlike. Like it might put you off either, right? So
Mhm.
they really did find a sweet spot here with this story. It's fantastic.
I would say that's like the goal, right? With a young adult or an all ages stories. Like it
Mm.
can appeal to everybody in some capacity. If you're doing that, you're doing something right. I was seriously like gonna ask you. That's the second time we're on the complete same page. It must be a fucking full moon. But like we like I was like, is this a TLDR worthy book? Like obviously you're going back to it, I would assume it might be. So hell yeah, we got a
Yeah.
mainline coming up. I think we should have at least one more this month. We'll see though. You never know because we never fucking know.
But between vacations and chats, who knows, right? It
Yeah,
could be October.
exactly. Subscribe to the show if you haven't already. Leave a 5-star rating and review, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Thank you very much. All right, now we got Dark Horse to get to. We got the final issue of Vatican City. Only 3 issues in this series. I think they were oversized. This story read at a breakneck pace. It was solid. It wasn't like my favorite thing ever. I don't think I ever broke it down on the show in any capacity. It just wasn't quite at that level for me. But it was like it's like a fun series. But again, this is where like we get the review copy. So we have this like luxury where it's like, okay, it's solid. I can give it a little bit of an extra chance. And that's where we let you guys know. But for me, it wasn't like this, like, I'm not going to talk about it on the show. That's kind of what it comes down to. Then we got Usagi Yojimbo, 10,000 Plums, issue 4. Of course, Joe's
plums.
one of your favorite characters in all of comics. Oh, by the way, speaking of Usagi, have you gone and watched TMNT, the original cartoon on Tubi yet? Because I went and watched a couple episodes this weekend, man. Wow, that fucking took me back.
What season? I think I own the first and or second season.
I think all seasons are on Tubi right now for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original.
What are you speaking of? Usagi Yojimbo was on there?
No.
Just talk about TMNT.
Just made me think of it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I believe I own the first 2 seasons, and then I went and I bought the first season of like G.I. Joe.
Oh, that's right. I remember you said that. Yeah.
And I've been thinking about doing the same with like He-Man.
Mm-hmm.
But like He-Man doesn't hold up like the other ones do. Thundercats is on Hulu. I watch Thundercats all the time. There's even like a newer Thundercats that came out in like 2013, which I was oblivious to, and that's not too bad. But there's only one season of that, unfortunately. But
you know what I got? There's some stuff on. There's so much good. There's so many good things, and now that they're bringing back the old stuff too, like that, like the original old stuff that we can watch in other places, is just like, Tubi's a fucking gold mine. It really is. It's free. Everybody, go check that shit out.
I think I texted you. I started Vox Machina.
Oh, that's right. You did text me. Yes, dude. How far in are you? A couple episodes?
Yeah. It is the fucking best.
Dude, it was like this thing. Oh, what's the fucking show? It's so damn good. If there was another season, I would be like, we should do an episode. But
it's so good.
Seasons, oh my God. And I was, for those who listened on the show previously, I said to Joe, I need to have a chance to guess who your favorite character is. It was the easiest fucking guess.
Yeah, it was not difficult.
I think actually, we're going to count that towards the trade score that I got that right. So it's going to give me a point.
Yeah,
and of course, everybody, for those who have watched it was Scanlan, this Joe's favorite character. I was like,
yeah.
Do you know Joe at all? If you listen to the show at all, it's like, that's your guy through and through, right?
I thought about fucking with you and going with the fucking dapper nerd guy there,
Percival.
Yeah, just to see your reaction,
dude. Percy's got some shit going on, man.
He does. He needs to talk to someone once a week.
Yes, he does. I like, if you ask me, I love Vax and Vex, like who obviously I talked about recently on the show. But it's like I do like Percy a lot. Grog and Pike and Keyleth are probably the ones that I like them, but they're just not in that same stratosphere. But Scanlan's up there too. Yeah, he's the man.
He's the wine and dining 69, and that's that guy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like dude, that show's so fucking rewatchable too. Like I honestly talking about right now. Like when we're done and after I go cut up some videos, I might watch a fucking episode for like 25 minutes.
Yeah, but I gotta watch it once the kid's in bed.
Yeah. Yeah, you got, yes, 100%. Anyways, got more Dark Horse books to discuss. We got Los Monsters issue 2, The Great British Bump Off, Kill or Be Quilt issue 3, Assassin's Creed Mirage: A Soar of Eagles issue 3, You Never Heard of Me issue 5, The Oddly Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos in a lot of cubed ice. Is that right? Children of the Night issue 1. So we're getting a new story in the Christopher Chaos series. And that brings us over to Christopher Cross. That's what it was. And it brings us over to Mad Cave.
All right. So I'll do these next two here, Nicholas, right? So for Mad Cave, we have Flash Gordon issue 10, which just continues to be an extremely fun retro sci-fi series. Vanishing Point issue 2, Past Time issue 3, and Bitchcraft issue 1. And then from Oni Press, we have Epitaphs of the Abyss. Strike that, reverse it. Epitaphs from the Abyss, issue 12. And then we have a number 1, Nicholas. This is Benjamin, issue 1, written by Ben Waters with art by Leo Max. And I read this book twice. One, because I sort of read it late at night, and I was like, I wasn't all with it as I was reading it, just because I was It's old and kind of sleepy town. So I was like, sometimes when I do that, I just like, this book isn't for me, and I won't go back to it. But I made a mental note and I said, go back to this one, Joseph. It deserves your time, and boy howdy, did it. This is an absolutely meta book. I mean, the premise, right? We've kind of seen this time and time again, like with stories about like writers all of a sudden like finding themselves in an alternate universe where they're one of the characters, in their own books. So we kind of get that here with our main character, Benjamin, who's an author, a bit of a degenerate author, but he's a sci-fi. He's a sci-fi author, and he's sort of like passes out, wakes up, doesn't know where the hell he is, and it turns out that like he's people know who he is, but he's technically dead, and he's trying to figure out what the hell's going on. He bumps into a person whose father was a fan of all of his books, so he's going through and trying to piece together, from all his old novels, like, what the hell is going on? Is there a book where he sort of wrote about this sort of thing happening? And so, the main character is a real piece of work. He's great. Like, you just like, you're sucked into sort of who he is, right away. It's got a real awesome, great, gritty art style. And ends with a great little, sci-fi cliffhanger there on the first, issue. So it does its job of sort of pulling in, bam, guides hooks, and yeah, give me that second issue. So I'm glad I had the wherewithal to go back and reread this, because it was most definitely worth the other look at. And like I said, this is like, again, it's something that's we've seen. Matt Kint has done this, with a few of his books, and has done a really great job with it. And Ben Winters absolutely nailed it here as well. So definitely a book worth checking out.
Hell yeah. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. And yeah, 1 out of 3, is it? Is that correct? Is that what it was?
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Three issue miniseries. Okay. Awesome. Awesome stuff. All right. I'm gonna take us through these next couple here before we round things out with Image. So we got from IDW, Star Trek Omega issue 1, Monster High, Locketness Monster issue 1. From Vault, we got Money Shot, Big Bang issue 2. From Titan, we got RuneScape, Untold Tales of the God Wars issue 4, and Return to Skull Island issue 1. And then from Dynamite, take this with a grain of salt. We've been noticing like where we're tracking stuff from a League of Comic Geeks with Dynamite, not seeing stuff. We usually get stuff specifically from one of the writers on here with their review copies. What was it?
I was gonna say too. I think Dynamite still might be like one of the lone publishers still with Diamond. So
They might be. Yeah, they got some stuff going on over there. There's been delays, and I know some of the creators try and keep everybody up to date on social, but even for us, where like we're trying to stay on top of it, it's difficult. But what's supposed to be coming out this week is the Herculoids issue 5, Vampirella issue 3, Thundercats issue 16, the Terminator issue 8, Captain Planet and the Planeteers issue 2, Red Sonja versus Army of Darkness issue 3, Silverhawks issue 5, Red Sonja Noir issue 1, and Space Ghost Annual issue 1. Again, take all of that with a grain of salt. Obviously, there's some that would be a banger of a fucking week for Dynamite. Some really good titles here that you and I are reading. But I just that one I would proceed with caution with that. Why don't you take us through what's going on with Image and Skybound this week, because they got.
Man, great week from Image and Skybound. So I'm gonna take us home here, Nicholas.
Thank you.
Country roads take me home to a place I
Is
belong.
that Scanlan on the show? Holy shit!
West Virginia, Mountain Mama. Apparently, that song is rife with like geographical inaccuracies.
Oh, really? Is it?
Oh yeah.
I actually didn't know that. Can you
So-
go to that high octave that Scanlan can, by the way?
Oh yeah, please, please. Are you kidding me? I've been
I have
told
the
I'm
higher pitched voice here, so I don't know.
I've been told I'm the songbird of my generation.
This is yes.
So from Image and Skybound,
Tough generation.
it's definitely not the greatest generation. We have from the Invincible universe, Battle Beast issue 2, G.I. Joe issue 8, The Walking Dead Deluxe issue 115, The Rockefellers issue 6, Phantom Road issue 13, The Seasons issue 5, Deadly Tales of the Gunslinger Spawn, issue 7. Ret City, issue 15. Which, God, thank you.
Sorry, I was trying to
Nicholas.
help you out there. Sorry. I knew I
No,
should have known.
yeah, for fuck's sakes.
You just said Rat City. Sorry.
Okay, Rat City, issue 15. Drawing Blood, issue 8. Adventureman, Family Tree, issue 3. He sits there and he decides to do a fucking, like, he moves all the fucking words on me. You know, he's going to do a copy and paste nonsense.
Trying to help you out. Sorry.
Clearly, success.
Yep.
Young Blood Deluxe, issue 3. The Cold Witch, A Tale of the Shrouded College, issue 2. Copra, issue 50. Bloodletter, issue 1. And a big old bowl of go fuck yourself, Nicholas. What do you
By Joseph Gilmore. What the fuck? I do want to note before we get into the books that we want to discuss, I read Bloodletter issue 1. This is in the Spawn universe. Fun, like really good art in it throughout the whole issue. Tim Seeley is one of the co-writers on this series. Just didn't necessarily want to dig into it a whole hell of a lot. But if you like Spawn stuff, this is a character who's kind of going to go head to head with Spawn in some capacity. So something to possibly check out if you're a fan of the Spawn universe. But for us, we got 3 books that both you and I are reading. I want to start us off, Joe, with Bug Wars, issue 5. Of course, Jason Aaron and Mahmoud Esrar. This is a title we've talked about on the show, but why I want to lead off with this one, Joe, is Bug Wars has definitively entered the must-read territory for all Image comics. Like, this was the first 4 issues were outstanding. We have loved this series, but we get into issue 5. Tensions are high. We're due for some big payoffs. And then we get some massive developments in this issue that absolutely changed the game. And I'm just reading it and I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
blew my mind?
Oh my God. Like this series, like we talk so much, and you especially on this show, about like how with comics, like the character writing, like we love that. This is a series though where you have epic artwork and you have great character development. Don't get me wrong, but the plot is so fascinating and it is so layered. And issue 5 is the greatest example of the layering. I am stunned by this, Joe. I don't want this to end, but at the same time, I can't wait to get to the ending because this is just so damn good.
How many issues?
3 more. But it's also it's an 8-issue series, but it's also labeled book 1. So
yeah, Nicholas World Stomper Friar. It's got a certain ring to it.
I like that. It's better than Snake. Have the only people who work with me as an editor in the comic space, and Joe calls me a snake. That's a big market piece for the interview.
And he loved it. It. If the shoe fits. Am I right?
Yeah. See, you got one editor who's from Canada and the nicest woman ever, and then you got fucking New Yorker Jerry who's ready to go.
So I made a Simpsons reference, and she's like, "Was that a Simpsons reference?" So I was half of mine once I heard her say "about." To then like later on at some point like oh, they think I'm slow because I'm from Canada, eh? But I didn't, I was
we're gonna hear about that from her. She listens to the show.
I know.
All right, which of the other 2 books that we want to dig into from Image do you want to talk about?
Oh geez, you know what, Nicholas? Let's do this. Let's go with got timestamp this here. People want to know how the sausage is made. Let's go with I Was a Fashion School Serial Killer, issue 3, written by Daniel Hilliard with art by Doug Wagner. Let me tell you, Nicholas, I mean, ever since it was vinyl, which that was a weird book, right? Because like I wanted to stop reading because it was like really bizarre. But there was something about it that I kept going back to, and I'm so glad that I did. And then I read Plastic. Was it like Doll Parts? It was like in the Plastic universe. It wasn't the Plastic main title, which I didn't realize was a thing until after the fact. So like, Hilliard and Wagner have this great like effed up universe. And this might be my favorite out of everything I've read by them so far. And this issue in particular, Nicholas, was absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, dude. I love this character, Rennie. You and I have talked about that so much, like how awesome she is. And like now she gets like this little bit of happiness. And I'm very happy for her. As much as I want her to see her fucking wreak havoc, I'm like, yes, you deserve to be happy, please. And then it's like these fucking assholes at this goddamn fashion school just gotta fucking push her to the fucking limit. This girl is about to go off, and I am so here for it. I love this character. We don't, again, you've talked about it recently how we can't, and I very much agree with this, but like we can't keep adding too many awards to the floppies. We have to, if we're gonna, at some point, if we're gonna add things, we gotta remove things. But at the same time, like with this character, I'm like, oh, we should make an award for like best new character, like from indie comics or something like that in the year. We can I don't think we should do that, like really, but like it's just a thought because I love this girl. She is awesome.
Well, that should go into, how you decide to hand out the award for best new horror series, because I think
Mhm.
this is definitely a candidate.
Yep.
Rennie is she's wonderful and extremely complex and uh absolutely ruthless.
Yep.
And there was a few things that happened in this issue, especially with her friend's boyfriend, that I wanted to jump through the page and take a
Yeah.
bloodbath.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And
Yep.
and I love that idea. I never really, I don't know why, again, I'm sundowning, but that idea of like, oh, it's a bloodbath, like having
Mm,
a sort of that other meaning, like when you think
mhm,
of, oh, it's a bloodbath, you think of like,
mhm.
oh, John Wick just, mowing down, 30 people in like, 2 minutes. But the literal meaning to that, when in regards to this story, it's so
Yeah.
brilliant. It is so good. So
It's a
good.
really nice touch. And by the way, speaking of that boyfriend, like real piece of shit. I'm pretty sure he actually wears white shorts, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah, and his hair slicked back.
Oh, it definitely is. Yes.
Yeah, and no doubt he lives for New Year's Eve. I made a Crash Boy reference in the
Yes, you did.
interview. One
Yeah.
person got it, the other one didn't. But I love where they went with it too, right? 'Cause
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Oh man, that was yeah. But yes, you're right. Like that's the thing we haven't talked about at all is that literal bloodbath element that
yeah,
that is in. I was a fashion school serial killer. If you like horror comics, this is a fucking awesome series to check out, especially if you're into the serial killer stuff. We're seeing a lot more of those stories recently for obvious reasons. But yeah, this is whew, Joe and I have been loving this series. And then to round things out, we got to talk about Exquisite Corpses, issue 2. Of course, this is James Tynion the Fourth and Michael Walsh. The game is on. The chaos has begun. But while we get in the first issue, we get a lay of the land and everything. Not like we learn about the deadly game, we learn about the countless number of characters that are in this series and like how this is all about gaining control of America. What's so interesting though about this second issue is that there's a new seed that is planted with the game about the game within the game, and there are some people who have vested interests in the game's outcome, and like they have certain preferences for the results and whatnot, and the machinations that are at play as a result. I'm also almost more fascinated with that in what's going to transpire from those results and those motivations than what's actually happening in this insane game that's going to be happening in Maine.
yeah. But that's the other thing too. It's like I found myself wildly sucked into the game being played, right? And sort of with the characters being like, yeah, I'm gonna have a little fun with the townspeople first before I
Yeah.
do what I'm supposed to do.
Yep.
And the scene there with the ambulance tech, right? Like this book, like who knows? This could be another contender. Whittling down best new horror series, best new miniseries, best new series, whatever, all of them. It's going to be a very hard year to whittle down the floppies.
Yeah.
And
It really is.
this book, pun intended, is exquisite, and it's got so many layers, and it is oh man, is it violent, Nicholas? It is just so good. Like
Yeah, dude.
there,
It's
there's not a
unbelievable.
book that we didn't talk about today that's not absolute must read stuff.
Yeah, really, like some really awesome stuff out this week. But it's just again, we've been talking about how much awesome shit there is on the comic shelf. So make sure you go to local comic shop if you're not already there as you're listening to this and pick up these books. So that's going to do it for us, though, this week. Again, we have a Friarside Chat that's going to be coming the day after this drops. So depending on when you listen to us, that may already be available. Make sure you go check that out and check out the Kickstarter campaign for the Cloakroom Volume 4. You can go and back for just issue 4, or you can go and get all the stuff that's come out beforehand as well. Limited time left on that, so make sure you go back that. So, Joe, I think we got Mainline next week, but until then,
keep reading. Yeah.